Good afternoon. So it seems that workplace is a subject for women. So really pleased to be with you this afternoon. So pleased to introduce the transforming workplace by focusing on employee. What does it mean? Expectations from employee are higher and higher. What really makes a difference from the technology to the 2.0 generation? That's really the subject that we will cover. Major differentiators that we could imagine coming from HP are what? Of course, connectivity, mobility, it's in the DNA of HP. For sure, we know what will be the future of technology. Yes, we know also how to manage large projects that we have managed within HP, which is a very large company. Is it a key success factor? No, it's a differentiator that we need to have, but it's not a key success factor. So we will see with Suzanne what will be the key success factors for having in the center of the approach the user experience. What does it mean? It means what are the key success factors for workplace digital, how the business experience has been taken into account within our HPE project, and how we have handled the future technology for the user today, tomorrow, and after tomorrow. So welcome, Susan.
Merci, and thank you to my colleagues who invited me to be here today. It is a pleasure to come to France, and I'm hoping to bring some of this rain back to California with me. We need it. So I am Susan Salaber, even though my last name is French. I am not French. My husband's family is French. I am very happy to be here, and I'm going to be talking about the internal HP story. I've been at HP now 27 years, and I started when I was 2, by the way. I have been through all of our HP presidents and CEOs except Bill Hewlett and Dave Packard. So I have seen a lot of change over the years, and I've always been in California, in the Silicon Valley. So I'm also at the middle of the technology center of the world, I think. We have gone through, in the last several years, a transformation, but the transformation didn't start 4 years ago when Meg joined. It started a long time ago, and it's always transforming, but we're just transforming differently. Every time we have a different leader, they go through a change, and we all feel the effects downstream here, and I think we all know what that's like. So the story I'm going to be telling over the next few minutes is inside HP. About 4 years ago, we had our annual workforce survey, and the #1 complaint for our HP employees was IT, specifically IT support. And that's not a good thing if you're a technology company. So we embarked, at the same time, on a transformation across all of the company, but more not necessarily on the technology of things, because we already had gone through our data center transformation in the previous 7 or 8 years, where we consolidated all of the infrastructure, we went through and reduced our applications, we reduced the number of data centers, so we went through all of that infrastructure, all of the hard stuff, but we didn't go through any of the soft stuff. And the soft stuff is really measuring the experience that the employees had going through all of this change. How did we help them through it? How did we make their lives better so they could do their jobs easier? And we didn't think about that, or maybe we didn't care. Maybe a little bit of both. So what have we done in the last 4 years to show that we care and that we are listening to them? And we embarked on the experience. The experience was not only for IT, but it was for human resources, global real estate. All of the different organizations went through changing your experience. This started at the very top with Meg Whitman. When Meg Whitman joined our organization, our company, 4 years ago, she immediately knocked down the walls, so her and her direct staff all were sharing cubicles, and they can talk over the wall to each other instead of having to go knock on the door or call each other up. And that was just a very physical symbol that she was trying to knock down the silos that we had obtained within the company. Before Meg, IT was very siloed. Even though we had centralized IT within the company, IT wasn't playing nicely with our businesses. We were doing what we wanted to do. We didn't necessarily do what they needed us to do. We embarked on the data center transformation, but we didn't make it easier for them to sell, for them to ship products to the customer faster. We weren't listening to what they had to say. At the same time, we weren't listening to our employees when they said, I can't read that self-service article, I don't know what it means, because believe it or not, HP doesn't have all technologists working at the company. We have a lot of people that are maybe marketing or sales, and so they're not all technologists, like all the wonderful people in this room. So, our approach. We have been embarking on not only making sure our organization can see things end-to-end within IT, but also start listening to what our employees, what our business partners, and I've heard the theme of partnership here today. It is very important for us to not only talk to our customers and know what they're going through and what their vision is, but also our employees, our businesses within Hewlett-Packard Enterprise to see where they want to go and how we can make it easier for them. Our organization, Workplace Experience Services, we've been around for 4 years. We were called Employee Experience Services. And we organized really just to be the voice of the employee back into IT. At the same time, sharing the IT story, what is going on within IT to the employees in a language they can understand. Because not everybody understands what CMDB or any of those acronyms mean. So it's really about going through, managing all of this infrastructure. In case you want to see some numbers, I know you've seen a lot of numbers today. We manage and support a very large infrastructure across the company. This is not just Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, this is HP Inc. This is the environment before our separation. It is still somewhat our environment after the separation because Hewlett-Packard Enterprise is still supporting a lot of the services and infrastructure for HP Inc. So very large. I mean, you've seen a lot of large numbers already today. Here's a few more. And I won't go through any of those details. So, how did we do all of this? How did we transform and make a better experience for our employees? And the first thing is listen. They had told us for many years, this is not working for me, this is not working for me, but that information went to a big black hole and it never went anywhere. And in 2011, when Meg joined, at the same time the results came back from our annual survey saying all of the top problems the employees were worried about. She actually took that information and did something with it. At the same time, she started a program called Bureaucracy Busters, and it was where any employee anywhere around the world could share, this is what I think needs to improve. It didn't always come across like that. It came more of a complaint usually, but every single one of those pieces of feedback had to go somewhere and had to have an owner and had to have an action plan and get resolved. There were thousands of pieces of feedback, and in the last 4 years, and I know because I saw a lot of them come my way to get fixed, and there was a very strict deadline, there were strict deliverables that were measured every single month, and this went all the way back up to Meg. So you saw a lot of what was being done is that we were listening, and all the communications, the tone of voice changed. So you said that IT support was not working for you. We're listening, and this is what we're going to do. And you're going to see in a few slides in the future some of the solutions that we put into place to show that we were listening. It's not just words on a piece of paper. It's not words coming out of my mouth or Meg's mouth or whoever was speaking at the time. It was proof that we are listening, and by the solutions that we started putting in place for our employees. The other thing is, you have a lot of data. You've heard about big data here already today. So what do you do with that data? And how do you analyze it? Well, you have to, there's a lot of tools and so forth, but you have to make decisions on all of that data and decide, which way you want to go, what strategy do you want to follow going forward. And then you also have to anticipate, where does the end user want to go? Where's the business going to go? So then we can make educated decisions and strategies on that direction that we're going to head into. So this is a recurring cycle. It's not just once a year that you go, okay, what is it that you want to do? This is a recurring cycle that we always have to be looking, listening, learning, and actioning what we're learning. Now, I say actioning, but we're not always changing our strategies. You know, the 4 pillars that you've seen already presented today, the strategies that HP has right now, they've actually been strategies that have been in place for many years. Right now, we're saying that this is something that's very much on top of our mind because we've lived it over the last several years. Workplace productivity. Our goal the last 4 years has been to make the employee experience with IT much more positive and much more productive, because it wasn't for a long time. And how we've done that is by addressing a lot of the challenges that you see here today. They're not only HP challenges, I think they're industry-wide, they're business-wide. It is, we have issues with making sure your top talent is retained, you're attracting top talent, so how do you keep your employees challenged and happy to work for you? And we had that as a really big issue because we, during our cost-cutting efforts to finance ourselves during the data center transformation, we cut 60% of our IT workforce. It's hard to attract people if they think they're going to get laid off next week. So we had a huge issue in the last 4 years to really attract talented IT people within IT at HP, or even to keep the good ones that we still had. Emerging technologies. When do you invest on adopting an emerging technology? When do you place your bets in this area, or do you wait for something else to come out? At a company the size of HP, you can't invest on every single thing that's coming out. You have to make an educated decision on when you're going to adopt a certain technology, which is true for any business. So you have to make smart, based on all the data, where do I go? And I think standard program delivery, we always have to make sure that we're doing things on time and on budget. That's a standard, that's a basic. And if we're not good at the basics, then we're going to suffer all the way across the board. Now, I won't go into all of the details. One of the things that we did very early on was to organize ourselves to make sure we were delivering a consistent message, we were delivering consistent processes, and improving those processes if needed, but across the board. So instead of having the towers or the silos across our IT and infrastructure operations team, we merged the services, the like services together. Today we have a collaboration tower, we have a connectivity tower, and anything that is going to be deployed out to our employees has to go through our support readiness team, our support transition organization that makes sure all training has gone to our support organization beforehand, that all documentation, our self-service articles have been written by people who are communication experts but with an IT background. So it's in language easy for everyone to understand. And if it's not, we ask for your feedback, because feedback has been the catalyst of all of this 4 years ago. And so we still ask for feedback every single day, every single service that you touch, we ask for your feedback, and we respond. I've even given feedback on a couple of articles that I used, and they ask, did this work for you? If not, please tell me why. And I've submitted feedback, and immediately one of our catalog owners will respond to me and say, okay, what was wrong with it? You're out of date. Thank you for catching it. So how do we make sure that we don't have things that are out of date? We need to make sure that we're always reviewing everything that we have out there. And so a lot of processes need to be updated, because we had 7,000 articles we inherited 4 years ago, and more than half of them were written by engineers, assuming everybody could speak technical terms. Not everybody could. So organizationally, we had to structure for the whole entire flow of when we move something into production. And that could be as easy as a new PC that we're going to make part of our PC lifecycle program. We refresh PCs. It used to be every 3 years, and now it's more like 3.5 to 4 years, depending on the budget that we have. For our salespeople and some of our senior vice presidents, we give them a little bit more often because they're in front of our customers. So they need to see the latest and greatest. So we try to adopt our processes based on our workforce. So if you're in sales, like I was just mentioning, and you're in front of the customer, you need to be more with the latest technologies, where if you're a knowledge worker sitting at a desk in Cyberjaya, a desktop is going to be sufficient. In fact, it's probably going to be a shared workstation in a lot of cases. So we really went out and we took a look at, in the last 4 years, we interviewed hundreds of employees at all job levels to understand how they work. We used this data during our learning phase, and we're still doing it today, to see what is it you need in order to get your job done. Because the workplace is a lot of different places. It is the hotel, it is the airplane, it is the office sometimes, sometimes it's at home. And so we really need to understand, and based on what your job is, what applications do you use the most? Our sales folks maybe look at Salesforce.com to see what their quota is. They look at different tools that they need on the go on their mobile devices. So we used all of this data based on what the job roles were to be able to make sure what they need, they can get at their fingertips no matter where they are. So that was a lot of things that have changed in the last 4 years. And so we needed to make sure that our employees knew what was coming. So this talks to you a little bit about the interviewing, understanding what our workforce is all about. You know, are you sitting at a desk all day long doing coding? Are you working with your sales counterparts to make sure that they have all the information that they need at their fingertips? Are you, for myself, I manage executive support, so the team that provides support here to Eric and all of our executives at HP, making sure my team has what they need in order to be productive, the tools that they need to make our executives productive as well. So we looked at all of this information, and then we build what our standards are going to be within the company. At the same time, we have to be flexible enough because things are constantly changing. For example, we need to make sure that the devices that we're going to be providing to our folks and our workforce are able to have anything that's in the cloud, but also things that are not in the cloud, so they can access it at their fingertips. And not everything is where we want it to be just yet, but we're starting to communicate to our employees, or we have been for the last couple of years, this is where we are. And one of those things that we've delivered is moving more things into the cloud to make it easier to access. Before, it was very traditional, as Fabienne said earlier, we were a very traditional IT organization, and we've really been moving towards more of the hybrid as well IT organization. So drinking our own champagne, making sure that we can not only sell the products to you, but that also we're using them internally. And in a lot of cases, we use it internally within IT, our workforce first, before we actually deploy it to the rest of our customers, or our employees, I should say. So in this slide here, a lot about what you've heard today is about the data, it's about security, it's about being mobile. Security is something that I haven't talked much about, but it is just as important to HP as it is to any other large company or any company out there in the world. We don't want anyone outside of our company accessing our data either. So it's important that our folks can be mobile, be able to access their stuff on their mobile devices, but how do you make sure it's secure?